The alien queen was about to lose the war, until a human in the crowd rose up. The banners of the coalition fleets burned across the stars, and the ancient empire of the Virelian queen was falling system by system. What had once been a proud civilization, feared and respected, was now broken and surrounded. Above the dying world of Kersh Prime, thousands of alien warships floated in perfect formation. Their weapons were silent, not because they were weak, but because they did not need to fire anymore. The war was over. This gathering was not for battle, it was for humiliation. At the center of the formation hung a massive platform, forged from dark alloy and glowing with symbols of conquest. This was the tribunal stage, a place where defeated rulers were displayed before the galaxy. It was broadcast to countless worlds, translated into hundreds of languages, and standing alone upon it was the alien queen. She was tall, her form elegant but scarred. Once her armor had shined like a living star. Now it was cracked and blackened, marked by countless battles. Her crown still rested upon her head, but it felt heavier than any chain. Queen Sarilith of the Virelian Dominion did not kneel. Even now, even at the end, she stood straight. Around the platform, representatives of the coalition watched with cold satisfaction. They were many species, united by fear of the Queen's former power. Their leaders spoke of justice and peace, but their eyes showed hunger. They wanted the galaxy to remember this moment, the fall of a queen. A booming voice echoed across the void, amplified by ancient technology. "Sarilith of Virelia," the voice said, "your fleets are destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. Your worlds surrender one by one. Do you deny defeat?" The queen lifted her chin. Her voice when she spoke was calm. "I deny your right to judge me." Murmurs spread through the watching masses. Millions of beings watched from cities, ships, and prison camps. Among them were slaves taken during the long wars, prisoners from fallen worlds, broken soldiers, and humans. Humanity had been conquered early in the conflict, not because they were weak, but because they were young. Their space was small. Their fleets were few. The coalition had crushed them quickly and scattered the survivors across labor camps and foreign worlds. To the galaxy, humans were finished. In the lowest section of the spectator stands, packed tight with enslaved workers, stood one human male. He wore a simple gray uniform marked with a faded control symbol. His hands were rough. His face was tired. His name did not matter. He had watched quietly since the beginning. Unlike the others, he did not shout or curse. He did not beg for mercy or cheer for death. His eyes moved carefully, studying the platform, the ships, the guards, the speakers. He watched the queen. Sarilith felt it. Through the noise and hatred, through the distance and despair, she felt a strange pressure. She turned her head slightly, scanning the crowd. Most faces were filled with fear or joy. Then she saw him, a human, small compared to many species, unarmed, standing still while others shifted and bowed. His eyes met hers for just a moment. They were calm, not empty, not broken, thinking. The queen frowned slightly. Humans were not known for calm in defeat. She had faced them once in battle long ago. They had fought fiercely, even when outmatched. But after their fall, most humans had become quiet, careful, afraid to draw attention. This one was different. The coalition speaker continued, unaware. "Your execution will mark the end of your empire. Let all rulers learn from your failure." The queen laughed softly. "You speak of failure," she said, "yet you needed 12 fleets to corner one." Anger rippled through the coalition leaders. Energy fields tightened around the platform. The execution device began to rise behind her, its shape ominous and final. Below, the crowd reacted. Some cheered, some turned away. The human did neither. His mind was racing. This was worse than he had feared. The queen was not just being killed, she was being erased. Her death would give the coalition full control of the region, and after that, humanity would be next, not immediately, not loudly, but slowly, quietly, one camp at a time, one population transfer at a time. Humans would disappear into history as a failed experiment. Unless something changed, the human clenched his fists. He had no weapon, no authority, no army, but he had listened. For years, humans had been scattered across alien space. They worked in shipyards, data vaults, farms, and factories. They were treated as weak, harmless labor. No one thought they were dangerous anymore. That had been a mistake. The human looked up again at the Queen. Their eyes met once more. This time something passed between them, not words, not hope, recognition. The execution device hummed louder. "Final words," the coalition voice asked, almost mockingly. The Queen took a breath. "I ruled with strength," she said. "I protected my people. If that is a crime, then I accept my end." The device began to glow. That was when the human stepped forward. At first, no one noticed. One human moving meant nothing in a crowd of millions, but the guards noticed motion. Energy rifles shifted. The human raised his voice. "Stop!" The word was simple, clear, human. Silence rippled outward like a shockwave. The coalition speaker paused, confused. No slave was allowed to speak here. No human had permission to address the tribunal. "Who spoke?" the voice demanded. The human did not hide. "I did." Gasps spread through the stands. Guards moved toward him, weapons charged. The Queen turned fully now, staring. The human continued, speaking loudly, his voice steady despite the danger. "You say the war is over. You say the Queen has lost. But if that is true, why are you all still afraid?" Anger erupted. "Silence the human," someone shouted. But the human did not stop. "If you were truly victorious," he said, "you would not need this stage. You would not need this broadcast. You would not need to kill her in front of the galaxy." The coalition leaders hesitated. The Queen's eyes widened slightly. The human pointed, not at the Queen, but at the fleets. "You fear what she represents, and you fear what comes after her." Guards reached him, but something strange happened. Their communication channels flickered, just for a moment. The human took a step higher, his voice growing stronger. "You fear that the galaxy will see you for what you are." Weapons raised again. The execution device flared brighter. The Queen spoke suddenly, her voice sharp. "Let him speak." The coalition leaders turned toward her in disbelief. "He is nothing," one hissed. Sarilith smiled faintly. "No," she said, "he is human." The human met her gaze and nodded once. In the shadows of space, far from the tribunal, something else began to move. Quiet signals passed through forgotten networks. Old systems woke up. Hidden codes activated. The galaxy did not notice. Not yet. But the war, which everyone believed was finished, had just taken its first new breath. Silence ruled the tribunal stage. For several long seconds, no one spoke. Millions watched across the galaxy, unsure of what they had just heard. A human slave had spoken during the execution of an alien queen, and the sky itself seemed to hesitate. The coalition leaders recovered first. "Remove him," one of them ordered sharply. Alien guards closed in on the human from all sides. Their weapons glowed, ready to fire. The crowd pulled back, afraid to be near him. Humans were weak, everyone knew that. This one had chosen death, but the human did not run. He lifted his hand slowly, showing he carried no weapon. His eyes never left the Queen. "I will go," he said calmly, "but only after I finish." "No more words," a commander growled. The Queen raised her hand. "Wait." The coalition turned toward her in anger. "You are in no position to command," one leader snapped. Sarilith's voice remained steady. "If I am already dead," she said, "then what harm can words cause?" The leaders exchanged uneasy glances. The broadcast was still live. Cutting it now would look like fear. 30 seconds, one finally said. "Then he dies." The human nodded once. 30 seconds is enough," he said. He turned his body slightly, so his voice carried across the platform and into the watching fleets. "You believe humans lost this war," he began. "And in battles, you are right, our ships burned, our worlds fell." Some of the coalition leaders smiled. But war, the human continued, is not only about ships. His voice grew stronger. It is about learning. The Queen's eyes sharpened. When you defeated us, the human said, you did not destroy us, you scattered us. You placed us everywhere, in your factories, your fleets, your networks. The crowd began to murmur. You taught us your systems, your habits, your weaknesses. A coalition commander stepped forward. This is nonsense. The human looked directly at him. Then why did your supply fleets fail yesterday? He asked. The commander froze. That is impossible, another leader said quickly. A minor delay. The human shook his head. 3 fuel convoys vanished. 2 communication relays stopped responding, and 1 patrol fleet turned its weapons on its own escorts. The smiles vanished. The Queen felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Hope. The human continued. Humans adapt. We always have. When we cannot win by strength, we win by understanding. The 30 seconds passed. Enough, a leader shouted. Kill him. The execution device surged with power, and then the lights flickered, just for a moment but long enough. Across the coalition fleet, warning signals began to sound. Screens filled with error symbols. Commanders shouted orders. What is happening? Someone demanded. The human smiled faintly. Your war doctrine is built on dominance, he said. You never considered resistance from those you called broken. The Queen laughed softly. It was the first real laugh she had made in months. The execution device shut down completely. Chaos erupted. This is sabotage, a leader screamed. The human raised his voice one last time. This war was never over, he said. You just stopped paying attention. Energy fields around the platform dropped for a split second. That was enough. The Queen moved. She struck the nearest guard with precision, ripping a weapon free and turning it on another. Her body remembered battle even if the galaxy thought her finished. Around the platform, Virelian survivors hidden among the crowd reacted. They had waited for a signal like this for months. The coalition leaders shouted for emergency control, but control was already gone. Far away, across human labor camps and forgotten outposts, long silent systems came alive. Simple human code flowed through alien networks. Not fast, not loud, quiet, efficient. Human workers laid down tools and stepped away from machines at the same time. Communication arrays began sending false reports. Defense grids turned inward. The coalition fleets fired at empty space. The human was grabbed by guards, but their weapons failed. Sparks flew instead of shots. The Queen stood tall beside him now, weapon in hand. You planned this, she said quietly. We prepared, the human replied. A long time ago. She studied him. Why reveal yourselves now? The human looked around at the chaos. Because today, he said, you were going to die. The Queen understood. If she fell, the coalition would grow bold. Humanity would never get another chance. Sirens echoed through space. We must leave, the human said. My people have opened a path. The Queen nodded and gave sharp commands to her remaining guards. Together, they fought their way toward a hidden transport dock beneath the platform. Coalition forces tried to regroup, but confusion ruled them. Orders contradicted each other. Systems refused commands. Humans had not attacked with force. They had attacked with doubt. As the Queen's transport escaped into open space, the tribunal stage burned behind them. Inside the ship, the Queen finally allowed herself to sit. She looked at the human, truly seeing him now, not as a slave, not as a victim, but as something dangerous. What do you want? She asked. The human met her gaze. A future, he said, for both of us. Outside, the galaxy trembled not from explosions but from realization. Humanity had not been defeated, it had been underestimated. And the war had just changed forever. The human and the Queen's small fleet slipped through the remnants of the coalition blockade, moving like shadows through the stars. Every system they passed had already felt the subtle, invisible influence of humans. Supply lines disrupted, communications scrambled, loyalty in enemy fleets wavering. What appeared chaotic to the coalition was deliberate. Every action, every signal, every failure had been carefully planned by minds that had been underestimated. Queen Seralith watched the stars streak past. She had faced countless battles, seen countless worlds burn, yet nothing had prepared her for this. The human beside her was not a warrior in the traditional sense. He carried no massive fleets. He had no superweapons. Yet somehow, he had shaken the strongest coalition in the galaxy to its core. She could feel the weight of this realization pressing down on her. Humans were not creatures to conquer, they were creatures to respect. "You don't fight like anyone else I have seen," she said quietly, her tone a mixture of curiosity and awe. "You do not attack with force. You attack with," she paused, searching for the word, "with thought." The human smiled faintly, his eyes scanning the horizon. "We've learned to survive in the cracks, to move where others do not look. You think humans are weak, but weakness is only what others expect. Adaptation is everything." Seralith nodded slowly. In her long life, she had seen countless civilizations rise and fall, most defeated by the same patterns of pride and underestimation. Humans, it seemed, were rewriting that rule. The counterattack begins. The first strike came not from the Queen's ships, but from human networks embedded throughout the coalition systems. Ships turned on each other, believing they were under attack. Supply convoys vanished or delivered false information. Sensors reported phantom fleets moving across sectors. Confusion spread like wildfire. The coalition commanders, once confident and cold, now argued and suspected each other. Accusations flew. Alliances crumbled. The confidence that had kept their empire strong now became their greatest weakness. The human and the Queen watched from their command ship, silent but calculating. They did not need to fire a single shot yet. The enemy was destroying itself from within. "It is working," the human said. "They cannot believe what is happening. They are not ready for strategy like this. They rely on fear, intimidation, and overwhelming numbers. They cannot handle subtlety." Seralith's hand tightened on the console. "And when they discover us—" "They won't, not yet," he replied. "By the time they do, it will be too late." He was right. Within hours, systems that had been loyal to the coalition began to surrender or fail completely. Ships deserted their commands, governors betrayed their leaders. And in the confusion, the Queen's loyal forces, long hidden among civilians and minor fleets, began to reassemble. Together, they formed a small but deadly strike force ready to reclaim their empire. The human influence. While the Queen's forces gathered strength, the human began to work on the larger picture. He was not a general in the traditional sense. He did not give orders to attack or retreat. He manipulated probabilities, predicted enemy movements, and used information as a weapon. In sectors far from the battlefield, humans who had been scattered for years, former workers, prisoners, and scholars, activated systems they had learned to control. They did not fight openly. They simply made the coalition's own tools betray them. Communications failed, navigation systems misled, and automated defenses struck the wrong targets. Every day, the coalition became more disorganized. Every day, their arrogance dissolved further. Seralith watched this unfold and realized something incredible. Humans were not defined by weapons, not by numbers, not by brute strength. They were defined by mind, by adaptability, by the refusal to be defeated even when the galaxy told them they were nothing. For the first time, the Queen truly understood why the human had helped her, not for loyalty, not for allegiance, but because if she fell, humans would be next. Saving her was not kindness, it was necessity, and yet in that necessity there was genius. The final battle. When the coalition finally realized the scale of the rebellion, it was too late. The Queen's fleet, combined with hidden human allies, struck swiftly and precisely. They did not attack in massive, obvious formations. They attacked where the enemy was weakest, disrupting command centers, isolating flagship vessels, and dismantling communication networks. The coalition had relied on predictability. Humans had made them unpredictable. Sarilith herself led a daring strike. Her flagship moved through the chaos with elegance and precision, targeting key enemy vessels. Each action seemed small alone, but combined with human sabotage across the galaxy, it was devastating. The human remained aboard his ship, guiding the operations through data streams and predictions. He was everywhere and nowhere, unseen but felt. Each coalition commander who tried to regroup found themselves thwarted by failures they could not understand. Panic spread. Fear spread faster. By the time the coalition realized they were losing, their forces had already begun to collapse from within. Ships turned on each other, systems failed, and their command structure dissolved. Entire sectors surrendered to the Queen without a fight. Aftermath. Days later, the galaxy was quiet. The war had ended, not with mass destruction or total conquest, but with revelation. The coalition's leaders were captured or exiled, not killed. Systems once loyal to them now governed themselves, free from tyranny. And the Queen, once on the verge of annihilation, now sat upon her throne, a ruler reborn, not by luck, not by force, but by the intervention of a human who refused to stay silent. The Queen summoned the human to her chamber. She was alone, her guards standing respectfully outside. The air was still, filled with tension and curiosity. "You have changed everything," Sarilith said softly. "Your people are clever, yes, but I did not realize you are something more. You are dangerous." The human shrugged. "Dangerous only when underestimated. You survived because you refused to bow to fear. Humanity survived because we refused to accept it." She studied him. "Why help me? You could have left me to die. The galaxy has long hated me." The human's eyes met hers. Calm, confident, unwavering. "Because if you fell today, we were next. And because the galaxy is better when it sees the truth, your truth and ours." The Queen nodded slowly. For the first time in years, she smiled genuinely. She had always believed power was the only thing that mattered. Now she understood that cunning, patience, and courage mattered just as much, perhaps even more. The human legacy, the human did not stay in the Queen's court. After the final operations were complete, he disappeared into the stars. He returned to the scattered remnants of humanity, guiding them quietly, teaching them strategy, patience, and adaptation. Not as a ruler, not as a conqueror, but as a guardian. The galaxy remembered the day differently. Some remembered the fall of the Virelian Empire. Some remembered the chaos that humans caused in the coalition fleets. But those who truly understood whispered a different story. The day a human stood up, and the galaxy learned what humans really were. Sarilith continued to rule, wiser and more careful. She treated humanity not as weak subjects or slaves, but as partners, as allies, as a species that had the power to surprise and inspire. And in doing so, she ensured that the humans' lessons, their courage, and their cunning would never be forgotten. The war had been won, but the greatest victory was the revelation. Humans were small, yes, unarmed, yes, but their minds, their courage, and their refusal to accept defeat made them unstoppable in ways the galaxy had never seen. And somewhere in the crowd of stars, the human watched silently, knowing that sometimes one small voice, one person, was enough to change everything.